Hello students, welcome to the second lecture of the Introduction to Logic course. In the previous lecture, we have learned the definition of an argument, where we have learned that an argument is a group of statements, and these statements are so related with each other that one statement is claimed to be supported by the other statements. The supporting statements, as we have seen, are called premises, and the statement which is supported is called conclusion of the argument. Now, we have redefined by using these logical notations, premises and conclusion, the argument as a combination of premises and conclusion. We have also seen that in order to identify that a particular group of statements is an argument, we use certain markers. We try to identify certain markers available in the group of statements. So in the first go, as we have noticed, we identify conclusion with the help of the conclusion markers such as therefore, so, to conclude, etc. Similarly, in the case where the conclusion marker is not available, or maybe it is available along with other markers, so we try to go for that kind of statements where we find premise markers, and this way, through the process of exclusion, we arrive at the decision that this particular statement is a conclusion and the rest are not the conclusion, they are the premises. But then we have also seen that the markers which we call conclusion markers or the premise markers are also seen in the narrations, in the opinions, in interpretations, in explanations. So how we differentiate then argument from all these, where the conclusion as well as premise markers are used? So to clarify this point, I have pointed out that an argument is meant to prove something or disprove something, whereas opinion, advice, interpretation, or explanation is not meant for proving anything. And the closest concept which we may mistake with argument, as I mentioned, are interpretation and explanation. So here you see, this was the last point we discussed in the previous lecture, that interpretation is not meant for proving anything, claiming anything. Interpretation is meant for only expanding something or unfolding something or elaborating something. Similarly, explanation is not meant for again proving anything. It is meant for shedding some light on something or telling something more about it so that it becomes clear to the mind of an audience. And this way we have differentiated argument from interpretation and explanation. Now we are going to learn something more about the nature of argument. So consider an argument is a combination of premises and conclusion, and there is a unique relationship between them. It is called implication. So we say that premises of an argument imply its conclusion, or in other words, conclusion follows from the premises of the argument. Now, on this basis, when we try to understand further, we try to understand the nature of the relationship between the premises and conclusion. And when we try to focus on the nature of relationship, there we see that the claim regarding the relationship may be of two kinds. So the kind of support the premises provide to its conclusion, it is that which enables us to differentiate one argument from the other argument. In fact, we classify whole of arguments into two broad categories depending on the kind of claim we made regarding the relationship between premises and conclusion. So consider if we claim that the premises provide absolute support to its conclusion in an argument, that kind of argument is called deductive argument. When we say that the premises provide absolute support to its conclusion or conclusive support to its conclusion, then the argument is called deductive argument. Remember, we are focusing on the nature of our claim. We claim that the premises provide absolute support to its conclusion in a deductive argument. Our claim may not be correct. Our claim may be problematic. It may be correct. So depending on the correctness or problematic character of our claim in a deductive argument, we further classify deductive arguments into two categories: valid deductive argument and invalid deductive argument. So whatever we claim regarding the relationship between premises and conclusion, if it is found actual in a deductive argument, then the argument is called valid. So a deductive argument is that argument whose premises provide absolute support to its conclusion. That's the definition of a valid deductive argument. And if the premises fail to provide absolute support or provide some spurious kind of support to the conclusion, but the claim is made that the premises provide absolute support, but actually the support is of a spurious kind, then that deductive argument is invalid. So an invalid argument is a deductive argument. Remember always that valid or invalid expressions are used with reference to only deductive argument. And what is a deductive argument? In a deductive argument, it is claimed that the premises provide absolute or conclusive support to its conclusion. And if this claim is actual, then we call that deductive argument valid deductive argument. And when the claim is spurious or problematic, then we call that deductive argument invalid. Now again, coming back to the nature of the claim, if we claim that the premises probably support its conclusion or the premises provide some kind of support to its conclusion, and certainly in saying this, we are not saying that they provide absolute kind of support as it is claimed in the case of deductive argument. So if the premises provide some kind of support to its conclusion, then that kind of argument is called inductive argument. And the kind of support premises provide to its conclusion, if that is very strong and it is really good, then we call that kind of inductive argument a cogent argument. A cogent argument is that inductive argument in which its premises provide strong support to its conclusion. In the same way, an inductive argument is a weak argument or incogent argument when its premises provide very weak support to its conclusion or a tentative support to its conclusion. So an inductive argument is a weak or incogent argument in the case where its premises provide minimal support to its conclusion, and therefore it questions, in fact, it shows the unreliability of that kind of inductive argument. To instantiate the division between deductive and inductive argument, we can use some examples. So for the sake of convenience, I have taken one example for deductive argument and only one example for inductive argument. And of course, you can multiply the examples. So as I said, that in a deductive argument, the inferential claim made regarding the relationship between premises and conclusion is understood in terms of these expressions. The premises provide absolute support to its conclusion, or conclusive support, or necessary support to its conclusion, or definite support to its conclusion. So the conclusion is absolutely, conclusively, necessarily, definitely supported by the premises. If that kind of claim is made, then of course the argument is deductive argument. And the same thing can be said in a different words, that conclusion is inherent in the premises. What it means, conclusion is already contained within the premises. And that is why the conclusion of a deductive argument is not said to be something new, but it is a kind of derivation from the premises. It was already there in the premises, and that is why it is possible for the premises to provide absolute support, because it is coming from nowhere but from the premises, right? So consider this example where there are two premises and one conclusion. Premise 1 says that all BTech students have passed their higher secondary examination. Premise 2 says that Shivani is a BTech student. Therefore, the conclusion says Shivani has passed her higher secondary examination. So consider the statement made in the conclusion. Shivani has passed her higher secondary examination. On what basis? On the basis of these two premises. Premise 1 says that any student who is a BTech student has passed higher secondary examination, and the fact that Shivani is a BTech student enables us to infer that Shivani has passed her higher secondary examination. Now you can easily see that this is a valid argument, right? Which means if you accept P1 and P2, you cannot reject C. If you accept the premises, you cannot deny the conclusion. And that is precisely the notion of validity. And we will learn the notion of validity in a detailed way after a while. But try to understand the nature of a deductive argument. When I say if P1 and P2 are acceptable, they are true, then you cannot say that C is false. You have to accept that C is also true when P1 and P2 are taken to be true. So this way P1 and P2 provide absolute support to the truth of the conclusion. The truth of P1 and P2 absolutely support the truth of conclusion. Now come to an inductive argument. It was said in the beginning that an inductive argument provides some support to its conclusion. Now, that support could be strong, but certainly it is not absolute. It is not 100%. It provides support, but the support is less than 100%. So in all such arguments where the support is less than 100%, they all fall under the category of inductive arguments. And if you want to understand inductive argument in terms of the disciplines, so all the scientific theories, they fall under this category. They all are inductive arguments. They all are in the form of inductive arguments. And we cannot claim that the scientific theories are absolute theories or they cannot be falsified. There is a possibility of any scientific theory being falsified in a later discovery. So inductive argument claims only some kind of support to its conclusion. It could be very strong. For example, in the case of scientific theories, the claim to its conclusion is very strong. The experiments very strongly support the theory. But the moment we happen to find an experiment which goes against the theory, certainly we have to look for an explanation. So, in the case of inductive argument, conclusion says something, and it says something more than what is already there in the premises. That is the main difference between deductive argument and inductive argument. In the case of deductive argument, conclusion is already present in the premises, and when you come to the derivation part, there you will see that from the premises, by applying certain rules, you can derive the conclusion. That you cannot do in the case of inductive argument, precisely for the reason that the claim made in the inductive argument is something more than just the claims in the premises. So consider certain premises P1, P2, P3, P4, and on this ground we claim something in the conclusion. So what is P1? Suppose X being a person, any student. So Mr. X is a student of SMBDU and he is intelligent. Miss Y is a student of SMBDU and she is also intelligent. Mr. P is a student of SMBDU and he is intelligent. And you can go on picking up the students randomly and you find them intelligent. So what you will conclude about the students of SMBDU? In conclusion, you will say that all students of SMBDU are intelligent. If you happen to find that this or that student whom you encounter, whom you come across, is intelligent, then you will be inclined to claim that all the students of SMBDU are intelligent. But then on the basis of limited observations, by seeing this or that student, you cannot make this claim. You are claiming something about all the students on the basis of your encounter with only few students. And therefore, your argument can be a problematic argument. And since it is premises are empirical kind of premises, you happen to meet certain students and you find them in certain ways, and therefore you generalize your finding in your conclusion. So in the other way, inductive argument is also understood as the argument where on the basis of individual experiments, individual encounters, we make general claim. Whereas in the case of deductive argument, we derive particular claim from general statements or a combination of general and particular statements. Now, what about your opinion regarding this inductive argument? Do you think that this argument is reliable when you happen to meet 3 or 4 students and make a general claim regarding all the students? In certain cases, you may be right, but certainly not in this particular case when you say that all the students are this kind or that kind, definitely, right? So inductive arguments provide some kind of support, but certainly not absolute kind of support. Now let us consider a problematic case, and from here we are moving to understand the structure or the form of an argument and its validity or invalidity. We are postponing our discussion on inductive arguments for a while. From now on, we will consider the arguments which are of deductive kind. So we will elaborate, we will discuss from now on the deductive arguments, explain them, analyze them, and try to understand them in little detailed way. And we will come back to inductive arguments after some time. So consider this particular argument which I have written for your consideration. Look at these two statements. If Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India, then he is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, Jammu and Kashmir. Second premise is Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India. And on this basis, these two premises, on the basis of these two premises, we conclude that Dr. Karan Singh is the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. So what do you think regarding the reliability of this argument? This is a deductive argument. Why it is a deductive argument? Because you can easily see that the claim which is made here is derived from the premises, and it appears that the conclusion follows absolutely from the premises. So if I claim that Dr. Karan Singh is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, you will immediately say that this is false, because on this date, 18th August 2020, Dr. Karan Singh is not the Lieutenant Governor of J&K. Do you know who is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K now? Yes, Sri Manoj Sinha. But when I say Dr. Karan Singh is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K on the basis of the premises that if Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India, then he is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, and Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India, then I am perfectly justified in claiming that Dr. Karan Singh is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K. What kind of mad tendency I have, you can easily see. So I would request all of you to look into the very structure or the organization of this argument. Suppose the premise 1, that is, if Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India, then he is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, is true. Just imagine a situation that the premise 1 is true. Also imagine a situation that Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India. For that you don't need to imagine, in fact. He is actually not the President of India. So you will be comfortable with the second premise, that Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India. So this is true, factually true. But the premise 1, if Dr. Karan Singh is not the President of India, then he is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K, you may not be comfortable with. But imagine a situation that this is true, and this is a compound statement, so certainly after some time I will explain how you can decide the truth value of a compound statement. But just imagine a situation that premise 1 is true, and we have agreed that premise 2 is actually true. So on this basis that premise 1 and premise 2 are true, can't we claim that Dr. Karan Singh is the Lieutenant Governor of J&K? What do you think? Try to think, reflect, and be puzzled, and these things will be clarified. So it may appear to you that this argument is invalid, but actually this argument is valid. Here is no question regarding the truth or falsity of the statement. I am talking about the validity or invalidity of this deductive argument. This argument is valid, and very soon you will come to know why it is a valid argument. Now let us move on to something emerging from this situation. As you have noticed in the previous slide, that we are talking about the truth of the propositions, the statements of the conclusion, and we are talking about the validity or invalidity of the whole of argument. So truth of the statements participating in the argument and the validity of the whole of argument. Can there be any relationship? To explore that how the truth of the statements participating in the argument is connected to the validity or invalidity of the whole argument. In order to explore it, we require some reflection through certain examples. Now I am giving examples one by one. So consider this argument. All TV news channels are media companies. NDTV is a news channel. Therefore, NDTV is a media company. What do you think regarding the truth of premise 1, the truth of premise 2, and the truth of conclusion? Premise 1 says that all TV news channels are media companies. I hope you all agree that this is true. Similarly, NDTV is a news channel. That is also factually true. On this basis, if we claim that NDTV is a media company, aren't we right? If premise 1 is true, premise 2 is true, then the conclusion has to be true. And we are claiming that NDTV is a media company, not on any other ground, but on the grounds available in the premises. All TV news channels are media companies. NDTV, being a news channel, becomes a media company, right? So this argument is a deductive argument where the conclusion is completely supported by the premises. Here all the premises are true and the conclusion is also true. The conclusion finds absolute support from the premises. Therefore, this argument can be called a valid argument. Not only valid argument, since all its statements are true, this is also called a sound argument. When a deductive argument is valid and all of its statements are true, then that deductive argument is also called a sound argument. Now consider another example. In this case, you have noticed that all the statements of the argument are true and the argument is valid. Now consider this argument. Some politicians are dishonest. Clearly false. At least there are few who are honest. So some politicians are dishonest is false. Some dishonest persons are farmers. Some dishonest persons are farmers. This is also true. Therefore, some politicians are farmers. This is also true. Some politicians are dishonest. This is true. Some dishonest persons are farmers. This is also true. Therefore, when we say that some politicians are farmers, and this is also factually true, some politicians like Mulayam Singh or Sharad Pawar, they claim that they are farmers in their election forms when they apply for their elections. So here you have an argument where all the statements are true. But can you say on the basis of some politicians are dishonest and some dishonest persons are farmer, that some politicians are farmers? Can you say? In other words, can the truth of the conclusion is dependent on the truth of the premises? Is there any such relationship? That is not correct. In fact, all these statements are independently true because they represent facts, and there is no necessary relationship between the truth of the premises and the truth of the conclusion. And that is why this argument is invalid. And after a while we will learn rules, etc., how this argument can be logically demonstrated to be invalid. So here we stop. We proceed beyond this in the next class.